Only the fearsome humans came to the rescue. The silent plea. Velarion Prime had never known war. Its skies shimmered in hues of amethyst and gold, where floating isles drifted lazily above crystal forests. The Velari, tall and translucent-skinned beings of grace and empathy, thrived in harmony with their world. For over 1,000 cycles, their civilization flourished without armies or weapons. They had no need for such things. The Galactic Council had promised peace, but peace was never guaranteed, especially when the Council chose silence. The Kralk Syndicate arrived like a devouring storm. Sleek black warships pierced the upper atmosphere, casting shadows over once gleaming cities. Metallic beasts, covered in jagged plating and fueled by hatred, marched through the forests, taking prisoners and silencing all resistance. The Velari had no soldiers to defend them. Their cultural doctrine forbade violence. They had healers, artists, and scholars. None could stand against plasma rifles or orbital bombardments. Elder Malier stood atop the council tower in Velra's heart, watching as distant fires painted the horizon a sickening red. He clutched the memory crystal pendant around his neck, passed down through generations, and tried not to tremble. "They have reached the southern groves," a young attendant whispered, eyes wide with horror. "Our people, they're being taken." Malier closed his eyes. "Send the final appeal to the Galactic Council. Tell them Velarion is falling. They've already refused once. Then send it again. Someone must answer." Hours passed. Cities crumbled. Cries echoed through the forests like dying songs. Then, at last, a message crackled through the ancient relay system, weak and trembling. "Velarion's plight is tragic, but intervention would risk galactic stability. The Council cannot, must not, interfere." Malier sank to his knees. Around him, the Council chamber fell into stunned silence. The Council, protectors of peace, had abandoned them. All except one. A hologram flickered to life. A tall, scaled ambassador from the Keeley Confederation hesitated before speaking. "There is one species. One you could try." "Who?" Malier rasped. "The humans. Terran Union." Gasps rippled through the room. Whispers of ancient battles, of primitive rage, of a species born in war and shaped by fire. Humanity. The Terrans. Monsters wrapped in flesh. "They're dangerous," another elder warned. "Unstable. Unpredictable. But they fight," the Keeley ambassador said simply. "And when they do, they don't lose." Malier stood, frail but resolute. "Then we will call them. For if monsters are the only ones who will answer, let them come." 3 light days away, aboard the Terran flagship Indomitable, Admiral Sarah Voss stood alone in her command chamber. Her short-cropped hair was silver at the roots, her face a map of battle-worn lines and quiet resolve. Before her floated a transparent projection of Velarion's transmission, distorted but unmistakable. The Velari did not beg, not even now, but their silence between words spoke volumes. Their pain was not shouted, it was endured. She listened to the message twice, then a third time. Around her, holographic battle reports flickered from other sectors. Political tensions, border patrols, all the usual noise. She silenced them all with a word. "Command," her aide asked over comms. "What's the verdict?" Sarah's voice was low, cold, determined. "Reroute the 7th Fleet. Plot course to Velarion Prime." "You want to commit a full task force?" "Admiral, that's a neutral system. No authorization, no treaty, no alliance. If the Council pushes back." "They won't," she said, "because they won't dare follow us there." "But why, ma'am?" Sarah Voss turned to the viewport. In the distance, 1,000 stars burned like distant eyes. "Because they called us monsters," she said. "And sometimes monsters are the only ones who show up." She paused, then added, "Tell the men. Gear up. We're going in hot." On Velarion Prime, the skies darkened again. But this time, it was not Kralk's ships blotting out the stars. It was something worse. Something far more terrifying. Massive angular dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace, black as the void, bristling with weapons, surrounded by escort ships like hunting wolves. The Velari looked up in fear, unsure if salvation or annihilation had come. A single human message was broadcast to the Kralk and all of Velarion. This world is under Terran protection. Surrender now, or face the consequences. Malor, watching the heavens, felt the first tears in days slide down his cheeks. He did not know what the humans would bring, but he knew one thing. They had answered: arrival of the monsters. The Kralk did not retreat. They were too proud, too bloodthirsty to recognize the scale of what now loomed above Velarion Prime. In orbit, the Indomitable and its fleet formed a wall of steel and fire. Terran warships were unlike anything the Velari had seen. Sleek destroyers with magnetic rail cannons, carrier ships launching swarms of drone fighters, and the flagship itself, a kilometer-long fortress bristling with weapon systems. The Kralk responded with defiance. 3 of their cruisers broke formation and surged toward the human line, weapons armed. Admiral Sarah Voss didn't blink. Engage. Within seconds, the Terran fleet opened fire. The Velari had no language strong enough for what followed. To them, war had always been a theoretical concept, discussed in ancient philosophy but never truly witnessed. Now they saw it, a cold, precise storm of violence. Terran railguns punched through Kralk hulls like paper. Plasma rounds burned through shielding. Explosions bloomed in space, silent but terrifying. The Kralk ships didn't stand a chance. 2 were reduced to drifting wrecks within moments. The 3rd tried to flee. It never got the chance. On the surface, Velari citizens watched in silence. They didn't cheer. They didn't scream. They simply stared, awed and afraid, as their sky filled with fire and falling metal. Then the humans came down. Dropships screamed through the clouds, descending like meteorites. Massive transports landed outside the occupied cities, deploying mechanized infantry, heavily armored soldiers in exosuits, their faces hidden behind expressionless visors. Their weapons gleamed with deadly efficiency. To the Velari, they looked like monsters from the myths, ancient gods of war forged in fire and shadow. Children hid behind their parents. Elders fell to their knees, whispering prayers. In one ruined district of Velra's heart, a squad of Terran Marines moved swiftly through the streets, clearing Kralk outposts with shocking coordination. Their movements were fast, purposeful. Each step planned, each shot counted. They communicated with clipped efficiency, using hand signals more than words. Private Marcus Drell, the squad's youngest, stepped into a crumbled structure, a shattered school. He found 3 Velari children huddled behind a collapsed beam, eyes wide with terror. He paused. The children trembled. One of them began to cry. Marcus slowly holstered his weapon and removed his helmet. Sweat matted his hair and soot smudged his cheek, but his eyes, soft and human, met theirs with calm compassion. He crouched down and reached into his pack, pulling out a thermal blanket and a ration pack. He tore the seal, broke off a piece of soft nutrient bread, and extended it. None of the children moved. Then the smallest, a silver-skinned girl, crawled forward and took it. She tasted it, then looked back at the others and nodded. Marcus wrapped the blanket around them, speaking softly. "It's okay now. We're here. We're not going to hurt you." Sergeant Yara Tran entered behind him. She saw the scene and gave Marcus a quiet nod. "Good work," she said. As they escorted the children out, a crowd of Velari gathered in the street, cautious and trembling. A Velari elder stepped forward, eyes fixed on the Terrans. "You fight like the Kralk," he said quietly, "but you do not kill without purpose." "What are you?" Yara met his gaze. "We're human," she said, "and we're here to help." The elder looked at the children wrapped in the soldier's arms. He bowed his head. "Then the stories are true," he whispered. "You are monsters, but not the kind we feared." Back aboard the Indomitable, Admiral Voss reviewed casualty reports, minimal. The initial landing had been a success. Kralk resistance was heavy in the north, but fractured. Her communications officer approached. "Admiral, we're receiving intercepted chatter from the Kralk command net." "Let's hear it." The audio hissed. A guttural voice barked in panic. "They fight without fear. They do not retreat. Even our heavy units fall before them. We thought them primitive. We were wrong. They are death given form." Voss allowed herself the faintest smile. She activated the fleet-wide comm channel. To all personnel, Phase 1 complete. Prepare for full liberation operations. Move swiftly. Minimize civilian risk. We are not here to conquer. We are here to end this. She paused, then added quietly, show them who we are. In the reclaimed city blocks of Velra's heart, Velari families stepped cautiously from their homes, blinking in the smoky light. Human medics tended to the injured. Engineers restored power and water. Marines patrolled with discipline, not aggression. One Velari mother watched as her son approached a soldier, offering him a flower carved from crystal. The soldier took it, then knelt and said, "Thank you." The mother wept, for in the eyes of the monsters, she saw not conquest. She saw hope, war, and mercy. The battle for Velarion Prime had entered its next phase. With their landing zones secured and the initial Kralk forces pushed back, the Terran military began targeted liberation campaigns across the planet. But Admiral Sarah Voss had issued an unusual directive: minimal lethal force. The objective was not to exterminate the enemy, but to break them. At first, her commanders resisted. The Kralk were ruthless slavers, known across the galaxy for their brutality. Mercy was not in their vocabulary. Why should it be in humanities? But Sarah had learned long ago that force alone did not win hearts. It bred fear, yes, but not loyalty, not trust. And the Velari didn't need another tyrant. They needed a protector. Captain Idris Hale led one of the spearhead squads advancing into the northern sector, a dense, jungle-like biome where the Kralk had established a heavily fortified command post. He moved swiftly through the crystal undergrowth, his exo-armor cloaked and silent. His squad followed, fanning out with military precision. The Kralk base was a metal monstrosity, brutalist towers dug into the ground like claws. Hale watched them through his visor, studying movement patterns. "We can breach with thermite and be done in under 10, one Marine said. Hale shook his head. "No civilian confirmation. We go quiet. Disable comms. Drop them without a bloodbath." They launched the assault in coordinated silence. EMP charges knocked out Kralk sensors. Sonic pulses scrambled their coordination. Within minutes, confusion reigned among the Kralk ranks. When the humans finally struck, they used stun rounds, netting drones, and riot hammers. It was brutal, but not fatal. When the last Kralk commander fell to his knees, his breathing ragged and his pride shattered, he snarled, "You're stronger than us. Why not kill me?" Hale leaned down, visor reflecting the alien's face. "Because we're not you." Across Velarion Prime, similar stories unfolded. Human engineers restored power to cities while under sniper fire. Medics treated wounded Kralk prisoners alongside Velari civilians. Soldiers patrolled not as conquerors, but as guardians. Every unit was instructed to carry rations, not trophies. They were told again and again, "We are fearsome. Let them see what true power looks like. Discipline, not domination." In one small village, a Velari boy ran up to a squad of Marines, offering them a painting, a crude depiction of a Terran ship in the sky, haloed by light. "Why give us this?" the squad leader asked. "Because you gave us our sky back," the boy said. Back on the Indomitable, Admiral Voss stood before a live transmission with High Commander Theras of the Kralk Syndicate. The reptilian warlord bared jagged teeth. "You waste your strength playing nursemaid to prey. We will not yield." "You already have," Voss replied coolly. "Your ground forces are scattered, your fleets routed. Your soldiers are surrendering not because they fear us," she leaned closer, "but because they see we offer what you never could, mercy." Theras hissed. "Mercy is weakness." "No," Voss said. "Mercy is power restrained. You wouldn't understand." She cut the feed. At the frontline hospital tent outside the city of Elerin, Dr. Kira Zhao, a Terran trauma surgeon, worked tirelessly over Velari and Kralk bodies alike. Her hands never shook, even when her patients stared at her in disbelief. One Kralk soldier, barely more than a youth, groaned under her care. "You're helping me?" he asked, wincing. "You're bleeding," she said, applying sealant. That's all I need to know. Why? Kira looked him in the eye. Because someone once saved me. Someone who didn't have to. Later, that same Kralk soldier refused to return to his unit. Instead, he walked into the nearest Terran outpost and laid down his weapon. In the capital city, Velari's heart, the Velari Council reconvened, though now many of their seats were empty. Elder Maler looked out over the quiet chamber. Where once had been fear, now there was motion, purpose, rebuilding. Our people have begun to sing again, he said softly. A junior counselor asked, Are we not simply trading one empire for another? No, Maler replied. The Terrans do not stay in our homes. They do not demand our obedience. They ask only for quiet, for room to work. He looked to the sky, where human transports still moved like stars in formation. They're not conquerors. They're something older. They are what the galaxy forgot could exist. Warriors who remember why they fight. By the end of the third week, the Kralk had been driven from 90% of the planet. Velari cities lit up again. Schools reopened, and though fear lingered, it was no longer the dominant force. Hope was returning, and everywhere, there was a whisper on every wind, on every crystal breeze. The monsters came, but they brought peace. What remains after fire? The war was over. The last Kralk cruiser, its hull scorched and engines failing, fled Velarion's system and disappeared into hyperspace. It left behind wreckage, silence, and a world that had been scarred, but not broken. Admiral Sarah Voss stood in the observation deck of the Indomitable, gazing down at Velarion Prime. The planet shimmered with soft violet light, clouds rolling gently across its atmosphere. It looked peaceful again, serene, but she knew better. Beneath the surface, there were fractures. Peace after war was its own battlefield. In Velra's heart, human and Velari engineers worked side by side, reconstructing bridges, reactivating water systems, and laying fiber relays. The Velari had no history of militarization, no command structures or recovery doctrine. Without the humans, they would have drifted in fear and ruin. But now they had help. Captain Idris Hale moved carefully through the main square, helmet under one arm, speaking with a Velari logistics director. The two reviewed plans for converting abandoned Kralk bunkers into storage facilities for rebuilding materials. The Velari official, tall, with crystalline skin cracked at the edges, hesitated. Do your people intend to remain here permanently? Hill didn't answer immediately. He gestured toward a human convoy hauling medicine to a rural village. We don't want to stay, he said. Most of us don't, but we're not going to vanish while you're still bleeding. The Velari studied him. You're kind, you frighten us. I know, Hale said, but you protect us. We try. The Velari exhaled slowly. I think we're learning the difference. Elsewhere, Sergeant Yara Tran led her squad through a wide glade, now cleared of Kralk debris. She paused when she saw the children. Velari, dozens of them, gathered around a tall human marine, teaching them how to build a simple radio receiver from scrap. Yara approached. They're picking it up fast, the marine said, grinning under his helmet. Smart kids. Yara looked down at one small girl adjusting a coil with careful fingers. We bombed this grove 3 weeks ago, she murmured. Now it's a school, the marine said. It wasn't always the battlefield that defined the war. Sometimes it was what came after. In the ruins of an old Kralk outpost, Dr. Kira Zhao moved quietly through makeshift triage tents. Some of her patients were Velari. A few were Kralk defectors, watched closely by Terran security. One Kralk child, barely old enough to speak, clung to her wrist as she moved past. Don't leave, the child said. Kira crouched down. I'm not going anywhere, little one. I saw you stop the bleeding. That's what doctors do. No, the child said softly. I saw you stop it with your eyes. You looked at the soldier, and he didn't want to fight anymore. Kira blinked. Sometimes children saw more than adults did. I hope that's true, she whispered. On the Indomitable, Voss prepared her final address to the Velari Council. She stood before the hollow camera, tired but upright. The lines on her face spoke of long years and heavier burdens. Behind her, stars drifted. This is not the end, she began. Rebuilding will take time. And peace is not the absence of conflict. It's the presence of people willing to protect it. She looked into the lens, knowing her words would echo across the Velari network. We are leaving soon. Most of our fleet will depart in 10 days. A small humanitarian group will remain by invitation only. We do not conquer. We do not claim. We answer. She paused, then added, when no one else will. Elder Malir watched the address in the Hall of Echoes, surrounded by Velari youth who had only known fear until now. When the speech ended, he rose. There was a time we believed monsters would destroy us, he said. He turned to the crowd. We were right. A pause. But these monsters tore down those who hunted us. They burned away the ones who silenced us. And then they stopped. They rebuilt. A child in the audience asked, are they our allies now? Mailer smiled gently. They're what they choose to be, and what we remember them as. He looked skyward, voice soft. I will remember them as the fearsome guardians who taught us how to stand again. 10 days later, the Indomitable departed orbit, escorted by a dozen ships bound for other cries in the dark. Only a few remained behind. Engineers, medics, and advisors, blending into the cities like quiet shadows. In their absence, stories grew. Tales of fire ships and thunderwalkers, of deathless warriors with iron resolve, but also of human hands cradling Velari children, of a monster who whispered to a dying Kralk, you mattered. The fear remained, but so did something else. Respect. Hope. And in the song chambers of Velra's heart, a new verse was sung. When the stars turned cold and the winds fell silent, only the fearsome humans came to the rescue and taught us how to be strong.